So I've been on the record, even before Deshaun Watson went to Cleveland, but especially after, that I feel like Cleveland would be best with a Alex Smith type quarterback. And they had that in Jacoby Brissett. Then they had that in Joshua Dobbs. But again, obviously Deshaun Watson, they gave all the money to. They're going to make sure he's their starting quarterback, which makes perfect sense. I'm not going to sit here and argue. But I feel like their best bet is to have very much of a game manager quarterback. Now, obviously, this season kind of went to heck with, them losing the running back for the year, Nick Chubb. But even then, before Nick Chubb went down, I just feel like this team, you got Amari Cooper, you got a decent receiving core, right? You also have one of the best running backs in the league, if not the best running back in the league, and you have practically the best defense in the league. So when you're going into that game, any game possible, what you got to do is run the ball, control time possession, control the game, and let your defense eat. And that's exactly what, they were able to do with Jacoby Brissett. Obviously not as successful, but now they have Jim Schwartz. And I wish we could have seen, Jim Schwartz with Jacoby Brissett. I think that would have even done even more. I mean, Jim Schwartz is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league right now. So it's like that kind of combination, I will say, of like it would have been nice to see how that all transitioned together. Now, RG3 is making the argument that I just simply made, is that he should get another chance in the NFL and Cleveland should sign him for the simple fact that, hey, listen, he could do exactly what Jacoby Brissett can do in the idea of manage the game and just don't turn it over and play smart football. And that's really all they need right now. You look at the rest of the schedule is cakewalk when it comes to teams they're playing. If they just play smart, run the ball, control time possession, don't turn it over, and play defense, they could win every single game they have remaining. Let's go ahead and listen up to RG3. This was on the Pat McAfee show, so shout out to Pat McAfee.
The Browns should sign me as their starting quarterback, and here's why. Okay. 1, at 33 years old, I understand the game better than I ever have in my entire career. I know how to slide, and I know when to slide, and that was a huge issue in my 8 years in the NFL. But I've learned.
That's because Haloti Ngata destroyed his knee so badly because he didn't know how to slide. Haloti Ngata destroyed his knee completely, and he became RG3.
Learn from my mistakes, and I'm ready to showcase that I can get it done. But here's the thing. Deshaun Watson went 14 for 14 in the second half against the Baltimore Ravens, and he used his legs to go out and scramble and extend plays. Of those 14 passes, there weren't really any of them that you would say were $230 million worthy passes. All they needed him to do was manage the game because of them dogs they got over there on defense, starting with Myles Garrett. Well, guess what? I didn't do that. I can go out there and manage a game for the Cleveland Browns and help them go on.
I love how they're saying F. Dan Snyder. Man's gone, they're still saying F. Dan Snyder. Listen, I do agree with RG3 that how Deshaun Watson plays, he's more of a, he's more of a game manager that is also very risky with some time with his passes. And he's very interesting with some of his throws. You look at the week 1 game versus the Bengals, and while, yes, they beat us, you got to look at the fact that, the interception, for example, from Dax Hill. That interception, I mean, there is no reason why the interception should have happened. Deshaun Watson rolls out of the pocket, breaks containment, rolling out to his left-hand side, looking down the field. He just throws it straight forward to Dax Hill. Easy interception. Probably one of the stupidest passes I've seen in a very long time. And again, like I said, it's mistakes like that I feel like Deshaun makes. But then there's also crazy great plays. The thing I will say about Deshaun in his favor, and I don't really like him as a person, as a player I don't really care, but as a person I don't really like him. But when it comes as a player, Deshaun gives you the upside. And this is what I will say, a counter to RG3 here. Deshaun Watson gives you an upside of you don't know what you're going to get out of him. Now, that could be better or for worse, right? At the end of the day, you could say, well, that means he could throw 6 interceptions. Very true. I don't think he gives you the upside, though, Jameis Winston. Okay, let's calm down now. I think he gives you the upside of a pretty solid, maybe 3, 4, 5 touchdowns games, right? That's his upside. 3 or 4 or 5 touchdown game. I'll say 3 to 5 touchdown. I don't know why I said 3, 4, 5. 3 to 5 touchdown game, 400 yards, MVP performance. You're looking at him and thinking that's the quarterback of the future. His downside, right, is that he could give you a 3-interception game and look like RG3 after he got injured. That's the downside. Now, here's the thing, though. His average or his base or his floor is an average game manager quarterback. So, the reason why you pay $230 million to someone like that is for the upside, right? It's for the potential of what he could be. And what you hope for is as he learns your system more and he plays more in your team, that floor gets risen up to be a point where it is a high upside, right? So you want that high upside to be his floor. So what you hope for and why you pay him $230 million, which I still think is one of the worst contracts in history, and I will say is absolutely just a flop completely by the Cleveland Browns here, is that you hope for when he gets that contract, then he'll start playing better. He learned your system. He gets better under Kevin Stefanski. And now his floor, which again before was a game manager, now becomes a MVP quarterback with the potential of having an insane MVP season. So that's why you pay him that money and you get him and you bring him in. Now, so far, he has been playing like that. His floor has not changed, okay? His floor has been, just all together game manager quarterback. And how I expected it to go, exactly how I expected it went. I expected him never to get that floor higher. And I understand, again, the potential, but then you also got to think risk-reward. The highest potential, there's also the same percentage that he'll have the lowest, failure and the lowest, drop. So, I've said this many times, is Jacoby Brissett is not going to give you a crazy high potential. He's not going to. But I think he gives you a return that is above a game-managing quarterback. I think that's the benefit of it. His ceiling is above a game-managing quarterback, and his his potential is maybe 1 or 2 playoff wins. And I think his downside really isn't as low in any way compared to Deshaun Watson. I think his downside is potentially in the equivalent of maybe 1 interception, and that's probably it, right? Just nothing really good, but at the same time, it's not detrimental to your team, and if you still play good defense, you can still kind of make up for it. I don't think Deshaun Watson's downside, you're going to be able to make up for it in the game and be able to come back. Jacoby Brissett, I feel like you could. Now, obviously, both of them give you the upside in rushing ability, as RG3 just said about the rushing ability. Both of them give you that upside. But I think overall-wise, again, Jacoby Brissett, I think he gives you a little bit more of an upside in that aspect. Now, counting this all back and twisting this all back to RG3 here, what I will say about RG3 is, while yes, I do believe he can still play football, he did claim he still runs a 4-3. I'm not sure if that's accurate in any way possible. But I understand his aspect of, hey, listen, at this point in my career, when I came out of college, I was reckless, I was immature, I didn't know how to play football in a correct, manageable way. Now, I am mentally better, I am in a better spot, I think I can go out there and play good football for you. And trust me, I understand that concept, I understand that aspect. We've heard T.O., we heard Chad Johnson say this a million times, coming back to the league. And a lot of other players have done this throughout the years too. They're saying, hey, listen, I can still play. And I understand that, but what you have to understand, though, is, especially with RG3 here, and I don't think he understands it as much as he's going to let on, is the game has completely changed since RG3 has been quarterback. And I know he's sitting there saying, oh, yeah, I see Deshaun running, and I can run like that, and I could play like that. And I'm sure you could play to some level like that, RG3. But what you don't understand, and I don't think you understand because you haven't been on the football field in a very long time, and I haven't either, I'm just giving this based on what I've heard other NFL players say, is that the game has changed so much speed-wise that you're not going to be able to catch up and play as fast as you think you're going to be able to play. There's a reason why quarterbacks, even mobile quarterbacks over, last decade, it's been less and less where we see them run for a 60-yard touchdown or a big touchdown or a big run. It's because defenses have gotten faster. Linebackers, corners, safeties, everyone has gotten faster. So while, yes, you might sit there and say, well, I feel like I can outrun these guys. I feel like I can play better than these guys. In some aspects, you might be able to, right? I'm not going to sit here and doubt the fact that you are still very athletically gifted and you're still very mobile. But again, I don't know how well you're due. Number one. But two, how is your accuracy has been fixed? That's another big issue, because I know that was an issue when you were with the. By the way, he did play for the Cleveland Browns, and he was not successful at all. He actually threw a ball up in the triple coverage versus the Bengals and got intercepted. So that's a side note to that. But number two, I will say for him is that how is your accuracy improved? Number three, what's going to happen when you take a big hit? You know, you have NFL players, quarterbacks who have been playing every single day, every single game, practicing game in and game out, and they take a big hit and they're out of the season. What's going to happen when you take a big hit? You have age. Age is not something that's friendly to you when you're an NFL player. The older you get, the more difficult it is to play. And you got to think Aaron Rodgers, for example, he tears his Achilles, but he's playing football every single day, and he tears his Achilles. What happens if he wasn't playing for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years? What would happen then? It probably wouldn't go as well. So let's just listen to the rest of his points here.
On the Super Bowl run that they want to go on, but here's the second thing. I still run a 4.3 40, people, and I can throw the football 80 yards. I train every week like an NFL football player, so I could be ready for moments just like this. So they need to hit my line. And the third thing is, for me, if Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be their guy and they don't bring me in to be the starter, then they should bring me in to be the backup so I can help him in the same ways that I helped Lamar Jackson. I learned 6 offenses in 8 years in the NFL. Nobody wants to talk about it, but learning a new offense has never been a problem for me. And I can help DTR with his decision-making, when to make certain plays, and truly to understand what he has to do as a quarterback with a defense like that on the other side of the football.
All right, so let me compact what you just said, RG3. First off, you now just put Lamar Jackson's success based on you as you teaching Lamar Jackson how to play. I disagree with that. You know, because it's funny, because Lamar Jackson did not become a good passer of the football until Todd Monken joined Baltimore literally this year. Before this year, and Todd Monken really changed around that offense, and Greg Roman, you know, was obviously a mess with Baltimore, that Lamar Jackson was not a great thrower of the football. So first off, to the throwing the ball, you're not going to teach. You didn't teach Lamar how to throw the ball correctly. You didn't teach him about accuracy. You didn't teach him about decision making. Because if you go back and look at the last 4 or 5 seasons, this guy's 1-3 in the playoffs, and clearly accuracy has been always an issue. Decision making was always an issue. It was the fact he was very athletically gifted. That's why he won the MVP in 2019. So clearly, you did not show him in any way how to, you know, make good decisions, how to throw good passes. Todd Monken had to come in and completely change around an offense just to get him to be a good passer. So clearly you didn't show him anything there. So I don't know why you're making comparison saying that you taught Lamar Jackson or you trained Lamar Jackson in any way. I think that's completely a lie. I think that, you know, if anything, maybe you taught him how to play or act as a human being or an NFL player. But you also got to keep in mind this guy didn't get paid and he didn't play a playoff game. Like, at the end of the day, he decided not to go and play the Bengals, and they lost because he didn't get paid. So, what did you teach him there? All you did was defend him whenever he wasn't playing because of his injury, and then you kept saying it was an injury circumstance. Like, you didn't teach Lamar Jackson anything. Don't try to take away Lamar Jackson's success and now say it's your own. You didn't do that, okay? So I don't think you coming in is going to train and teach DTR how to play better in any way possible. Number 2, again, I understand you train and you practice, and I'm sure you do it. I'm sure you do a lot of NFL workouts. That does not mean that you are on an NFL level in any way possible. Just because you train every single weekend doesn't mean you're taking hits every single weekend from NFL players. Doesn't mean you're playing against NFL players in any way. Yes, you could go out there and play great football and be amazing, and I'm sure there's very possible you could be. But at the end of the day, I do not think that has any valid point to say, well, I train every single weekend, and now compare this to you can go out and play in football. You can't, because at the end of the day, you haven't played in 10 years. Or 7 years. I don't want to say 10 years. I think it was 7 years. You haven't played in like 7 years, dude. Like, actually, not even 7 years, right? Because he played 2019. He was a backup for he was a backup for Lamar, right? 2019. I think he was backup for Lamar in 2020. I think he was backup for Lamar in 2022. Yeah, so I'd say he hasn't been a starter in 10 years. I'll say it like that. He hasn't really been a starter in, maybe not 10, like 7, 8 years, I would say. Yeah, around 7, 8 years, he has not been a starter. And again, like I said, I'm sure he can go out there and he's been practicing, but I don't think he is going to be able to be as successful as he claims he can be. And the 4.340, again, like I said, I have to see proof of that because I don't 1000% believe that. I run a 4.22 outside. And, outside is in my dreams. In my dreams, I'm a 4.22 guy. So, like, I mean, we could all make up numbers, man. But I will say overall wise, to the last point I'll make about this subject is that, again, I think Cleveland, their best bet right now, is honestly to go with DTR. You got to look toward your future. Obviously, you got Deshaun Watson for another 2 years, but at the end of the day, he's costing you $80 million a year for the next 2 years. You're going to have to rebuild. You're going to have to completely sell the farm and change everything up and try to fix everything that's happened. And you're going to have to come down to a lot of different factors is that, listen, right now you're in a rebuilding stage after this season. You went all in this season to go win a Super Bowl. You lost Nick Chubb. You lost your franchise quarterback. You're going to have to start looking toward the future. And I think one thing, and I will say this beneficiary to Cleveland here, is that I don't think you're in a bad spot, Cleveland. Listen, you were at rock bottom for so long. Trust me, we all looked down at you. We all kind of felt bad for you. We all still threw peanuts at you. But you were at rock bottom for so long. There's only up from here. And right now, even a rebuild right now is not rock bottom. You have your defensive set, your defense coordinator, Jim Schwartz. You have your set pieces, and even with a rebuild, I don't think you're going to lose Myles Garrett. You can rebuild and not be starting from zero. You're rebuilding from like a 70-80%. And I think moving around some things, hitting on some draft picks, this team could be very good in the future. So I will say overall wise, again, I think in Cleveland's best interest, and even, I know he said bring him in as a backup, I don't even think it would be too much publicity, too much of a stunt. It would be too much PR. It would be too much, it would be a circus to bring RG3 in as a backup quarterback. Because after he said what he said here, now you're going to have other players trying to come out and say, hey, I can still play football, blah, blah, blase. It's going to be a circus. Everyone's going to talk about it. Then what's going to happen is DTR is going to struggle, right? And I'm very possible DTR does struggle. Fans are going to get upset. Fans are going to get, kind of like, oh, come on, man. And then what's going to happen is they're going to want RG3 in there. It's just how it works. Whenever you bring a veteran in, especially a media pundit like RG3 here, a football analyst, what ends up happening is there are fans who, maybe fair weather fans, as you wouldn't call them, fans of the game who just watch it sometimes and not always. And what ends up happening is they will hear, oh, RG3 joined the team. And the first thing I promise you they're thinking is, RG3 should play. We should go RG3. And some of them might not have even been literally watching football for the last 5 or 6 years. And they just remember RG3 from 2012. And they go, oh my gosh, this guy was a first pick overall. So put him in. And then he doesn't, and it's not smart. Because all you're doing then is going, hey, rookie, by the way, we have faith in you, even though week 3 you got destroyed by the Ravens. But that's because we did not train you correctly. They did not develop him correctly to be the starter. So now we're developing you correctly to be a starter. Oh, you went out there and had a bad quarter? Where we're going to put in RG3 we just picked up off the street because we think he has a better chance. What does that do to a rookie quarterback? It kills the confidence. It kills his game. It kills the aspect of how he's going to play. So there's no reason to pick up RG3. There really isn't. I know they worked out Joe Flacco yesterday. If you pick up Joe Flacco, that's okay. You pick up any other free agent quarterback, that's okay. It's not going to be a media circus. It's not going to be, oh, whoa, you just picked up blank. It's going to be like, oh, yeah, you picked up Joe Flacco, and he'll be the backup, and, we'll see what goes on from there. No one talks about it. You picked up RG3, a former first-round pick, Heisman Trophy winner, who has been very vocal about wanting to get back in the NFL, and now there's all these talks. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be talks that you don't want to have. So, Cleveland, if you're going to do your best bet here, stick with DTR. If you want to go PJ Walker, go PJ Walker. but I would stay away from the whole RG3 situation. And this, again, is not me hating RG3. I like RG3 personally. I think he's a great player. Was a great player, and I think he's a great person. He is an amazing person. And all the things he has done for this world is amazing. But at the end of the day, I do not think it's going to work out. And I'm going to be as, real as possible when it comes to situations, because I just don't think it's going to work out in the end. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I don't think I'll be wrong about this one. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next one. Peace.